Management District Board of Directors meeting to order. It's December 6th, 2025. It's 9 a.m. Roll call. Steve is excused and Kim is excused, and hopefully Doug will come shortly. Public comment today. Is there any public comment? Johnny, you got some public comment? Yeah, go.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah.
You bet.
Got my phone here. Is the preserve parking lot going to be plowed again this year? It's not plowed now.
It is not plowed at the moment.
Yeah.
Unclear, but I can absolutely ask Jeff on Monday to.
Yeah, I think it was last year they didn't plow it first, and then I think someone was asked to plow
Did
it.
come up again last year. We did ask to get it plowed. It did finally. Yeah, there's no reason why they can't, or do we have to pay them to do it, or?
No, probably not.
It doesn't look
I'll
like
just.
a big deal.
Yeah, I'll
It's
just
not very
ask him.
big.
He's
But-
really pretty cool about that. I'll go
Yeah.
ahead and ask.
A lot of the people that are going there this time of year have four-wheel drive trucks, so it's not a huge deal.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and good thing
maybe
if-
for somebody that wants to walk the trail though.
Yeah.
Or snowshoe or
Yep.
cross-country ski.
Well, we'll check into it, and because there's more snow coming probably tonight, so maybe on Tuesday next week or Monday he can maybe get up there.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
reach out to him?
Yeah.
That'd be great if
I
someone
will.
could reach
I'll reach out.
We should.
Reach out.
we
Yeah,
should.
I just thought I'd point that out.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. That's
for
fine.
I was just there and I had my glasses. I was watching a guy he must be muzzle loading deer hunting. Because
Okay.
he's got his orange on. He's sitting on the observation deck right now. It's like, not real sporting. So anyway, hey, I noticed that the Stantec Phase 2 is on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
I was at the last board meeting I was at. We had the small presentation from the Stantec person, and then I came to the public meeting, one of the few people that came, and I sat through that. And I don't know whether you guys have I missed anything on it? Any of the other meetings? Because I wasn't here for October. I missed that meeting.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
No, there wasn't any discussion?
Nope. The public informational meeting was a recap of what Phase 1 was. So they gave a presentation on essentially their final report of Phase 1.
Right.
And
Yeah,
now
that-
we're entering
yeah,
Phase 2.
that's what I heard, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I'm up to date on it then.
You are.
Okay, good. Are you guys planning to vote on Phase 2
Tonight, it's
We
on
are.
the agenda. Yeah,
today?
it's on the agenda. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah. Yeah, I'm not on the board, but I would like to see you guys take a longer look at this. For what they're proposing, the stream bank restoration and the amount of improvement that you're gonna get in the lake doesn't seem like it's a big bang for the buck. And you know where I stand. I'd like to see, some wetlands restoration out there. That stream is cut straight, it's man-made, straight as an arrow. I know the permitting is a problem, and, to be able to put heavy equipment in there. But, think of the long-term impact of restoring those wetlands out there and what that could do for future generations. To put it back as close to the way that you can. The preserved pond right now is drying up, with all the droughts that we've had. And it won't be long before it'll be overtaken by the cattails and the buckbrush and all that. So, whether or not, that's the way of the world, just to let that pond go. But, there's a huge opportunity there, guys. I talked to Valerie, who owns the property, her and her husband own the property, the horse property that's behind the preserve, and kind of talked to her about it, and she spoke very highly of you, Leanna.
Thank
But, I think she understands that there could be something good done there too. I think that they own the property on one side and whatever. But, I would urge you guys to take a longer look at this. They took one trip down the inlet stream, took some pictures, and produced a bunch of data that basically showed that the main problem with the water quality is the farmland runoff, which we already knew. So I don't know, what we're gonna get by doing stream bank restoration. 17%, I think, was the number I heard, of some suspended solids, I guess. So, that's my take on it. I'll support the board whichever way you guys go, but, I would like to see a longer look at it. Maybe, if you reached out to Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, they get involved in huge wetland restorations, and maybe they would help fund some of that too. You know, I think that they helped fund the initial purchase of the preserve. Jimmy, you probably remember that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, and it's beautiful, but I think we can make it better.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Yeah.
John. Okay, any other public comment today? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to approval of the minutes, October 18th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I don't like to be the approver because I write them, but I wasn't here, so I don't feel like.
Do you want a
Okay,
second?
sure, I will. Okay, so I'll make the second.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, we'll move into the treasurer's report. Steve is not here today, but he has given me a report to read, and I will walk through the two reports for October and November the best I can, okay? So the first thing is he gave us a little statement here. I'll
You want
read
to
that.
read these first, actually? He wants you to read
Oh, I
these
can
into
read
the
those
record,
first.
and then this. Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Wanna
It'll make a
start
little more
with
sense.
October?
Please.
Yeah, we'll start with October. Okay, so that would be this sheet here, October. You got it in your packet. So the receipts for the period amount of $12,374 and consistent of the Enbridge reimbursement, which was the $2,317, and the $10,000 of the Cambridge Foundation grant, which was in line item 307, and that was the reimbursement. The disbursements for the period of for the amount of $18,986.75 is detailed on the attached listing. The asset balance for the month end consists of the following. The checking account total is $149,183.18. The restricted fund amount is $5,771.30, and that's line item 417.
And that's the JSAS cost share from 2024.
So that would be the cost share, yep.
Yep.
That we're going to talk about probably a little bit more. And then available funds in October were $143,411.88. So that was the October report. Other items to note, there were none. And then if you look at the October expense sheet, you'll see that here. You know, just normal payroll, obviously, legal, $15.94. So we were wrapping up the legal expenses for our purchases and maybe a few other things in there. Nothing else. The loan payments there, everything else is normal for a total of $18,986.75. You see that at the bottom.
And I will just make a quick note, if you don't mind, that the Horton Curtis Scout Camp is $900 because they forgot to charge us for 2024.
Yeah.
So we allowed them to charge us for both years. And the Frawley oil was when we changed the hydraulic oil on the weed harvester. So that's a once every roughly 5 years. It goes off how many hours is put on the machine. But those are two miscellaneous kind of expenses that won't happen.
I noticed both of those.
Oh, good. Was
was
that your
gonna-
question?
Those were my two questions.
Well, good.
Perfect.
We got them answered, yeah. Yeah, the double charge, I wouldn't say double charge, but the lack of payment in last year for the rent for the harvester, we just didn't get an invoice.
Yeah.
And no one caught it, so we paid it all up.
He called and asked, and I was like, I don't know. Did you send me an invoice? But, so we got it figured out.
Yeah. All right,
Good.
any questions on the October report? If there are none, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so George has made a motion to approve the October report. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Laura's second. Any other discussion on the report? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. We'll go to November. Okay, so for November, the receipts for the period amounted to $25,321.96 and consisted of the $5,006 Enbridge reimbursement, $1,315.96 were closing costs reimbursement, and $19,000 was for the grant restoration project line 420. Disbursements for the period were $14,000 $804.27, and those are detailed on the sheet that we'll go over in a second. The attached balance at the end of the month consisted of the following. The checking account total was $148,661.98. The restricted fund balance was $5,771.30, and that's line item 417. And the restricted fund amount was $19,000, and that was line item 420. General funds available in November were $123,890.68, and no other items to report. So then when we go over to the balance sheet, trying to see if there's anything special on there that we should bring up here. We had some lawyer fees again for the closings of the properties. So that was a little bit higher, obviously, than normal, the $2,285.83. Normal payroll, just a Napa purchase, our loan payment. I don't see anything else in there. Is there anything else you want to comment on?
I do want to mention one thing. It looks like there's a discrepancy. I think the disbursements for the period amount to $24,804. It was just a typo, it looks like, by Steve, because if you look at this bottom number here to this one, he just put a 1 instead of a 2, and I think from our transaction sheet, you can say that that was just a typo.
I would agree that looks like a typo.
So at the bottom here,
Yeah.
says the 24,000 on this sheet, but on our disbursements, it says 14, and I think it was just a typo. He put a 1
Oh.
instead of a 2.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
that
just
looks correct.
make note of that.
We'll make the correction.
Yeah. And did you have a question, Georgia?
I did.
Yeah.
The great big bill for the Wisconsin State Hygiene.
Yep,
is
5,000 of it was the reimbursement for the Enbridge, and then there was our October sampling. Pardon me, it wasn't October sampling. Yes, that one was. That one was October water quality sampling. State
Right.
Lab kind of bills us about a month afterwards.
Yeah.
So
That's
half
what I
Enbridge
figured.
costs
It was
and
all
like
water quality.
$400 our cost.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the loan payment then going to be that higher amount every month then?
It is.
So
Yep.
it's only, so it's an increase of about, looks like with my limited math, about 400.
Yes.
400 and something
Yep.
extra based on, and that is the only loan payment amount we have to worry about going forward, is that dollar amount?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll talk about it. He mentions it here just briefly, so we can bring that up again, so.
Can I ask a question too?
Yep.
So for October, we had the restricted fund of the roughly 5,700, and then in November, we had the restricted fund of the 19,000. So what?
The
is that
Silver
part-
Linings Foundation gave us our $19,000 grant for the stream bank restoration
Oh,
project
okay.
that we accepted last year for last month, pardon me, for Stantec. That's what that money is.
Okay.
So now that's restricted specifically for our stream bank restoration project.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, good questions, everyone. Is there any other questions other than the correction that we made? Any other questions on the report, on the November report? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the report
So-
with that one correction.
So
Georgia,
moved.
do you want to?
I can do that.
Okay, with the correction of $24,804.27. Laura, did you second?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a second. All right, any other discussion on the report? Okay, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. And now I'll read this report into, Steve wrote a little paragraph here, so I'll read it so you guys can all understand kind of where we're at. The expense worksheet includes the actual expense through November with known expenses that we will occur in December. Please note that line item 415, cost share, does not add both numbers. This is because the expense in June was a budget expense from last year, which is, I believe, that cost share, right, that we're
Yep,
talking about?
and Doug had a question about that last meeting, so Steve wanted to be clear.
Yep. Steve estimates the December cost will be approximately $20,147.70 in total. This leaves us with the remaining funds of $6,833.66. We will use these funds to pay for the land survey of the 2 properties that we purchased. So we'll have some extra money that we can use for the surveys that we haven't had done yet. Any remaining funds after that would be applied to our credit card at the end of the December to use up all the budget funds. After the purchase of the second property, Steve contacted Badger Bank to see if we could set up any payments, over every other week, rather than monthly payments. This, they are allowing us to do that, which will save us in excess of $25,000 over the term of the loan. So if we make payments twice a month instead of once a month, we're going to save a whole bunch of money in interest over that length of term, and that was something that Steve had thought about, and I thought it was a great idea. But we will have to make one correction in the budget, and that's coming up here. So the backdraw, or the drawback of this will be we'll have to make one additional payment each year, which we did not budget for. So what we did budget for was 12 payments, because you're making monthly payments, but now with this new system, twice a month, we're going to have to make one additional payment in the budget year. So we didn't budget for that, although we do have money to cover that, and we will do that. But in the next budget process, we'll have to make sure that we account for that extra payment, because the savings is huge. And the taxpayers will save over $25,000 just on that loan. We'll be sure to budget for that in the next process. Steve will also convert the payments for the new loan and the existing loan to auto payments. So that should help us keep up timely, and these payments will be received with invoices when they're due. So we'll have auto pay instead of us trying to scramble every month and write a hand check and run it downtown like we were doing before. Okay? So then on this sheet that you have would be the actuals. This is like the sheet that Debbie started making with way back, and then
I don't think I got that one.
this one here.
You did,
No.
should be in your board packet, expense spreadsheet. Otherwise, you can have this as a hard copy.
Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like a hard copy?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a little easier to read it.
You bet.
Yeah, this one's pretty small. So this just outlines kind of where we're at today. Goes all the way through
This one.
all these line items, and it shows actuals. And I guess the part that we're all concerned about is, as we're wrapping up the budget year, with all the extra expenses that we had occurring, the properties that we had to move very quickly on, where are we going to make budget? And that was the biggest thing that everyone was, Leanna, myself, and Steve were really crunching with Debbie. Debbie helped a lot also.
Yep.
And thank you for her, for her help, because she obviously didn't have to, but she was glad to help us get through all this. It looks like at this point in time, the first week in December, it looks like we're still going to make budget. After everything that we've done to get the properties that we had to purchase. We had legal fees that added up more than we had thought, obviously, to get that done, because it was such a rush, and we had legal fees that we had to deal with in other lands that we acquired. There was just a lot going on, so we were really concerned about the budget, and it looks like we're going to just slide in under budget. So thank you for everyone who's worked on this, and it was a lot of work.
Was there anything in particular that was not an expense that we budgeted for, besides like board stipends and it looks like, what was this other 3,000, outside accountants?
I mean, the big things that were in addition that we didn't expect, there was a truck repair that was.
Well, I meant that like we budgeted 217 and we've spent 205. So I was just kind of wondering where that 12,000 savings.
We're not done yet.
Oh, okay.
So we're estimating that by the end of the year, with payroll and the other things, that
Gotcha.
we'll just come under with that extra buffer. And I think on the back page, it actually had the, so we have
there we go.
11,750 to finish off the year with. So when you take everything into account with the rest of our payroll and our weed harvesting wrapping up now, we don't have any more payroll there, I think we can make it.
Question?
George?
Yes. I think the big overrun was the legal.
Yes.
But when you guys set up for 2026 budget, do you feel like you aligned things that are going to help this, what this looks like?
Yeah, so,
Because I know we took money from Preserve to accomplish this purchase, I think. Is that right?
I'm not sure if we
Yeah.
did that or not, but,
We did.
okay. I'm not sure how, the legal fees, and I'll have to ask Steve, actually, how we found money for legal fees, but obviously some accounts were being underspent and some were being overspent. And the ones that got underspent, we were able to shift that money, to pay for the legal fees. Now, some of it kind of out of preserve, it possibly did.
I'm pretty sure I remember
So-
thinking that that was a good way to deal with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's not ideal, right?
No, but-
We didn't have a lot of choices. We
No.
certainly can look, we certainly can look at other things in the future. But moving forward, in the '26 budget, we should be fine.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we should be fine. We're not expecting huge legal fees anywhere. We're not expecting any other repairs. The only thing that we didn't budget for in '26 was anything we're doing on the new property.
Yeah,
So the account that allows us to work in the preserve is essentially the account that has to be used on the new property.
sure.
So that'll be thinner, but we are gonna, I don't know if restrict's the right word, we're not gonna plan a lot in the new properties, only the minimum until we have a chance to put budget money in for it.
Sure,
And develop a plan.
A
Right.
plan, like, we just did the minimum. We cleaned it up, we cleaned the gutters, we repaired the garage doors.
Yeah,
We just did
winterized
some-
it.
Yeah, winterize, we just did some minimum stuff. And we're gonna get the survey done. And that's important, so we know where we're at, right? Like, so what work can we do and where? So the survey has to be done, that's a one-time thing, and then we'll be fine. So, I mean, yeah, are the budgets tight? They were tight for the '26 budget also.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't build enough, we didn't build a lot of fluff in. So it's gonna be tight.
I doubt that you built any fluff.
I don't
in.
think we built,
We just spent money
we,
on basics.
right.
Right.
So we will see. It'll be another learning experience. Again, the budgets are just an estimate and what we see today. It's a snapshot of what we see today,
Yeah,
but the future is always different. So, but this group did an amazing job to keep this within our budget with all the extra things that we had to accomplish this year.
yeah,
So I just want to thank everybody for working very, very hard on that. And this board is super conscious about budgets, believe me.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So,
yeah. I'm very impressed.
thank you. Okay, any other questions about the treasurer's report? We have to, did we approve both October and November?
We did.
Didn't we? Okay, so we're good. I just read that into the report. I think we're all good. Any other questions on the treasurer's report? Okay, let's move on. Thank you, everyone. Town of Oakland representative, Laura, what do you have for us?
Oh, good morning. I just have a few items. Last month, I mentioned that we were moving forward with our boat launch project. In our budget for this year, we have the remainder of the engineering costs to finish 60% engineering costs and prepare the grant applications. And if we get those grants, we could get up to 100% funded, so that would be really great. So we wouldn't build until 2027 and see where we're at with the grant applications, probably over the summer. Leanna and I and Jeff reviewed the draft design, so thank you, Leanna, for
You
helping out. She's been a great resource. And particularly, we wanted to make sure that the harvester and the trailer could get in and out of the new launch area.
Yeah, that'd be a problem, wouldn't it?
Right, right.
We
So
gotta
it
do
was
that.
important that we do that. But right now, it's proposed to have a floating pier and would be ADA compliant. There's also room in there for a kayak canoe launch. So that would be great because we should have access to the lake for not just motorized boats, but paddle crafts. And there would be better circulation to turn in there. So we've looked at that. Just the two of us. It will be coming to the town board in December for the town board to review, make any comments, and then we'll move forward with any decisions that are made by the board. So that's exciting news. And does anyone have any questions about that? Anyone is welcome to come and look at those designs and give any comments they want.
Yeah, most of that project will be grant funded, which is really good. news.
Yes, yes. So it could be DNR and a wildlife grant, and they could both cover the cost. So feel free to reach out to me or come to our meeting and make any comments you want about that design. And then the Preserve subdivision over here, they are now in the process of trying to permit their phase 2. Phase 1 is underway. They, as you know, they have all the roads done. We have already looked at phase 2 and had approved the design and the stormwater management system for that. They are wanting to change phase 2 and also go back and change phase 1 a little bit, and it was primarily to increase the size of the lots. So there will be fewer lots there. Instead of 100, potentially 90 or less. It'll depend on what they decide to do with phase 3. But we will be going through all of the developers agreement, stormwater management. It looks like just some minor tweaks will be done, so there really shouldn't be too much work. The main basins and everything will stay the same. Having less houses will probably be helpful for the stormwater, but we'll definitely make sure of that. And that'll be coming up most likely in January. And then I just have a small Enbridge update. Leanna went out with the surface water sampling recently, but haven't gotten the results back there. She can add anything else about that. This past week, I spoke to Caroline Rice. Enbridge was going out to do the private well samplings this past week, and the week of December 15th, they'll be doing the groundwater samplings. They have not submitted their site investigation report. That would be very comprehensive of everything. They've been submitting a lot of interim reports, but this would be comprehensive of all that has been done on the site to date. So she's expecting that sometime in early 2026. I thought it would be sooner, but they may be wanting to include the December results, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but they are in compliance.
They're coming up on, this is 1 year, pretty
Yes.
much right around now.
Right, so maybe they'll wait for the year, but they are in compliance in all of their submittals. They will also in 2026 submit their soil labor extraction design. They finished the pilot test, as I mentioned before, so now that they have those results, they can work on the design of that, and that'll be submitted as well. They've continued with the product extraction in the riser pipes near the spill location, and as of mid-November, they have extracted 754 gallons. So every gallon that they extract, the better. So they have winterized that, so I'm not quite sure what they'll be doing over the winter with manually removing the product, but they will not be having that automated system that they had put in place recently. And then the last item, I would like to read it to you. At our last meeting, there were some questions from residents that there was more activity at the site, and it was very new at the time, and we didn't have information. But shortly after our meeting, and by the town board meeting the following week, we had information from Enbridge. They were very prompt with their response. So there's been a lot of activity there, and it did not have to do with any additional spills or soil vapor extraction testing. It was actually really great news. So I want to read what was sent to us. The work going on is the Mainline Appurtenance Project. I don't know how to say that. But at Cambridge and many other locations on the system, we're excavating sections of the mainline piping and station piping and are welding on new fittings that will be used to monitor pressures at our Edmonton Control Center. The project is adding more redundant pressure transmitters as well as upgrading our existing pressure transmitters. There are already pressure transmitters on the system at these locations. However, this is a new state-of-the-art design, and in a few locations, there will be redundant transmitters being added. The work will be ongoing over the next couple of months. So this is really great news. They're upgrading, they're having redundant systems. So hopefully that means that,
We won't go years.
yes, that it will be more likely to minimize the chances of a spill and also help them to recognize a spill more quickly. So this is all great news. So it's been a great response to all our residents' concerns about this. So Jimmy and I are both very pleased to hear this news. I also would like to ask them to come to another public forum, most likely after the site investigation report, so they'll have everything together. Maybe they'll have more information on what they're doing with the soil vapor extraction. I think it would be nice for them to come again and present just an overall wrap-up of what's been happening.
That's a good idea.
And Caroline Rice is from the DNR, has stated to me that they're working through the plan that they have. There's no immediate concerns with anything. They're doing exactly what they need to do at this point that they've asked them to do. So all is going as well as can be expected out there.
That's very good news.
Yeah, it's really great news.
Well, and that was one of the big contentions during the public hearing is,
Yes.
I know I brought it up when I had a chance to speak, isn't there a way to determine how much fluid's coming in, how much is going out? And can't you tell when there's a leak? Remember? So,
Yeah, I think the problem at that time is my understanding that it was just so small that they couldn't detect it when
Right.
they have millions of gallons running through the pipe every day. So hopefully with a more sensitive system and redundancies that they'll be able to detect something more quickly. But that's one of the reasons to come to a public forum so they can provide maybe a little bit more detail on
Right.
this.
thank you, Laura. Any
Thank
other
you, Laura.
questions for Laura? All right.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, let's move on to Jefferson County Rep, Meg.
Yeah, I only have two little things, and, nothing real pressing at the moment, but the Emergency Management Department at the county has applied for mitigation grant, pre-mitigation planning grant funds. And what that is, their goal is to be able to plan for future flooding. And I know that Patricia is interested in having in Cicero from Jefferson County as part of her hopes is to be able to do an assessment of the county's culverts and drainage systems, et cetera, to evaluate whether or not there's large enough to handle projected floods, projected high rain events, et cetera. Because that's one of the areas where you get blowouts, when you've got streams going under roads, et cetera. And where they're not designed, when we replace them, we tend to replace them with the exact same size as what was there before. And if you've got increasing rainfall happening, you're more likely to keep blowing out the same culverts, et cetera. It also prevents those from filling up too fast and coming across roads. It might not have any immediate issues here, but it's kind of relevant if they get this funding that they're going to be trying to do an assessment throughout the county of other flooding and other types of hazards that might come from those kinds of things and be able to plan ahead for them. And that also means that, if the county is going to go through and replace a section of highway or something, that they would be more likely to put in a larger culvert or something if it's called for. And that they haven't received that grant, but just mentioning that they've applied for that grant. The other thing that's a little bit less applicable to the district so much, but might be of interest to you, is that the Parks Department is preparing to go through its planning, its strategic planning for all properties. That includes FEMA properties and bike trails and all the park system, et cetera. assessing user desires, et cetera. And so to keep your eyes open at some point in coming months, I think early 2026, there'll be opportunities for public input on those. So, and that's all the recreational properties, but also the FEMA properties that are held. Some of the things that people have talked about is, better access on places like Black Hawk Island where there's FEMA properties and for fishing, and you're not able to do any kind of development on those properties, but you can have like a kayak launch and things like that. So just letting you know that'll be an opportunity for people to give some input. That's all I really have.
There
right now.
is that, ADA fishing pier on Black Hawk Island. And that's been well-received. It's well-used. So, I know when I was on the Parks Committee, part of the problem with the FEMA properties is that they're not necessarily all together. They're kind of
They're all patchwork out there, and there's problems with people kind of encroaching on those properties. And so they have, and that could put them in jeopardy with the federal government, because then you're in violation of the contract and they can yank money and do all kinds of other things. So they want to set these properties up in such a way that they're, not being used in ways that they're not allowed to be used. People want to store their cars and do other things out there, and then the next flood comes along and you can get pictures of all their junk sitting out there in the river. But it's also an opportunity, like I know at Cano Park and some of the other parks in the county that end up being flooded pretty regularly. And so kind of looking at best uses of those properties as well, and just kind of, to my mind, I suggested that they be working as well with this other grant program to be evaluating how should we be rearranging some of these properties to help mitigate for flooding, and that is actually part of that strategic planning process. We'll be looking at some of that flood mitigation efforts. Right now, if we mow right up to the edge, all that's going to do is wash all that stuff right back in. You're just not protecting the stream banks, and people kind of launch wherever they feel like it, and you want to kind of direct people into an area where you can stabilize the stream banks and stuff like that. So,
great news. I do just have one quick question about the potential of this grant funding. Would any of the money go towards town culverts? Would that be an opportunity for all the various towns?
I do not know. They're in the process of writing the grant. They had to submit that pre-application, where you let the DNR know you're planning to apply for it, or I don't know if it's a DNR grant or whose grant it is, but they had to put in that pre-application notification that they're doing it, but they are actively planning for it. And you're sitting on that emergency committee, aren't you?
The EMS group?
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
That's just EMS?
That's
Okay.
just EMS.
All right, because that would be something that I don't know whether or not there would be an extension. It would make sense in any kind of mitigation planning, because it doesn't make sense if you're just focusing on a county highway and you ignore the town culvert that's going to back up into the county highway or something. So it would be important for them to consider all of the property.
I could give the county a call just to comment on that. Who would you suggest? Should it be Patricia?
I'm going to see Patricia. I've got a county board meeting on Tuesday too. So I could ask, and I can drop an email to Patricia and just ask whether or not how they're planning to phrase some of that in their grant application, which I don't believe is due yet, and whether or not it would account for county activities. It'll have to come back before all the committees yet.
And it would be really helpful for the Lake District when any culverts around the lake, the preserve, because that can impact the lake as well.
Right.
And
how the flow is going to go through, how hard it's going to be flushing. Yeah.
So it's relevant to town as a whole.
Yeah.
So It is relevant to this group
Well,
too.
no, and
so-
I felt it was relevant anyway, just because that's something that we should all be thinking about. You know, yeah, we had a drought year this year. The way the pattern's been going, you know, we had huge flood years in 2017 and 2018, you know, just incredible water over all the roads, et cetera. And then all of a sudden we get a couple of years of drought, well, then we're going to come back into a wet zone again, you know. So if we're not thinking about the fact that we're getting 2-inch plus rainfalls on a regular basis now, then we're not being really smart about our planning, so.
Great.
Great, yeah, thanks for that update.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to Lake Manager's report. Lana Spencer.
Alrighty, busy month and a half, but very productive as well. For our cost share program, the Sleepy Hollow project is still underway. We granted them one last 6-week extension to get their permit approved. So our extension is with the contingency that their DNR permit gets approved. If not, then they obviously can't place that rock riprap. They have already installed the rain garden, so if they aren't able to get the permit and install the rock riprap, the 5,000 restricted funds will cut in half to just their rain garden. We'll reimburse them for that, and then they'll be on their own for their riprap. So still working through it. We have had meetings with Aaron Cox to discuss what Jay Sass needs to get done, the landowner, but is just kind of in limbo. So hopefully within a week we'll find out whether or not his permit got approved, and hopefully that work can get done sooner rather than later. A lot of grant work this month. Both of my grants from 2025 will be ending at the end of this year, so I'm working on writing my point intercept report and my nearshore non-game fish survey, macroinvertebrate, shorelands and shallows, all the reports that need to get done, I'm writing them. Also, one of our big reports that needs to get done before the end of the year is our aquatic plant management plan. That can't get done until I finish the PI report, so I can understand what the plant composition in the lake looks like to be able to inform my aquatic plant management plan. We need an aquatic plant management plan in order to apply for our weed harvesting permit. Our weed harvesting permit did expire at the end of this year, so all those things kind of line up every 5 years. So pretty normal stuff, but just wanted you guys to know all of that. I did apply for 4 DNR surface water grants. You can see them listed here. A lot of folks helped me get that done, so thank you to all of them. I was advised not to apply for the AIS Aquatic Invasive Species Grant by our lakes biologist, and that's because he thought it'd be more worthwhile to spend my energy on the other grants that he thought would be more successful in this program, as well as the way I was writing that grant could have seriously impacted our weed harvesting permit. So you got to be conscious when you're applying for aquatic invasive species grants and you have a weed harvesting program. So once I have my new weed harvesting permit and my updated aquatic plant management plan, perhaps next year we can apply for an aquatic invasive species grant to better track our Eurasian water milfoil and curly leaf pondweed populations. That was kind of the whole point of that grant. So we'll see if we can apply for it next year in a better way, I suppose.
Does that affect anything Tony's doing?
It does not.
Okay, good.
I did begin working on the Cambridge Community Foundation grant. We will be requesting monies from them this year for our Stantec project, which we'll be discussing shortly. We will talk about our Stantec Phase 2, so I won't get too much into it because it is on the agenda in a moment. I have been reaching out to landowners along the inlet stream just to let them know that we're starting Phase 2 and to ask them to sit down in a meeting with us. Jimmy and I had one with some landowners south of the preserve a couple weeks ago, and then I just had another one with a landowner north of Highway 18 yesterday. Both of them went very well. What we're asking for Phase 2 is simply to sign a memorandum of understanding for permission to access their property. We want to get boots on the ground, see what kind of best management practices could be installed on their property, and what's the biggest bang for our buck. What our overall goal throughout this whole project is to reduce nutrients and sediments. So what property, what best management practice will help us get that done? So that's what we're really focusing on Phase 2, and you guys will see that shortly. We did accept Stantec's bid for the stream bank restoration project. Sarah and I touched base yesterday as she came to our landowner meeting, and that's expected to get started sometime this month. It's good that there's snow on the ground, that the ground is frozen, so some of those heavier machines can get back there and begin that work. We did get a $19,000 grant from the Silver Linings Foundation to begin that work. They're going to fund the rest of it, but until the 2025 work is done, we didn't think that he had to give us the full amount. And I just want to let you guys know that I also, in addition to that bid, asked for an additional $3,600 to cover water quality monitoring costs, because that was one of the foundation's asks, was that we monitor water quality at that site, just to see if there is any differences. It might be tough to see the difference, but we're going to do it, and as well as administrative costs and field technician hours. So I did add a little extra in there because I know I'm going to be working on that project, and so is our field technician. So that's good news. Laura gave a great report for the Enbridge oil spill. Thank you for that. I appreciate your help all the time. Laura and I work pretty closely on the Enbridge stuff. We're always chatting about it and seeing what we can do next. I did complete, like she said, the surface water monitoring with Enbridge for Q4. Technically, this was our last time sampling with Enbridge. So I reached out to Caroline, but I wasn't able to hear back from her. What I want to discuss is whether or not it's appropriate, and just for her opinion, it's the board's opinion that matters more, but is it appropriate for us to ask for one more year of surface water sampling that the district completes and that Enbridge reimburses us for? And if not, Laura had a good idea that if they said no, can I at least come and observe your surface water sampling? All the times we've done it, they've been really diligent about their practices, so I have total confidence in what they're doing. I just think it's good for public perception that a district representative is there monitoring that while they do it. So,
Can't hurt.
yeah,
No.
right. So that's on my agenda for the next month. I did participate in the DNR's fall electroshocking survey. It's not a real big thing that I want to tell you about, just something fun that I did. We got to go out at night and shine for walleyes, and then we shock them and we put them in like a big holding tank on the boat. And what we're looking for is natural reproduction. So as you guys are well aware, we got taken out of the Wisconsin Walleye Initiative because we weren't seeing any natural reproduction of walleye, and it is still pretty low. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me, and I can send you a little blurb that I asked Mark Baldock for in case anybody had any other questions. It's also on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, you can look it up there too. But it was super cool. I was glad I was able to get out there and go do it. And it's nice to have that collaboration with our DNR fisheries biologists, because then I can dive into some of the other fish populations. What do you think about the panfish? What do you think, XYZ? You know, it's good to have those guys on our team, so.
Is the, just out of curiosity, is the walleye reproduction, is that related to temperature then?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just too warm. We don't have a cold enough lake at this point to sustain them.
And I think there's a lot of species competition.
Okay.
Is some of the habitat too, so like rocky, gravelly bottoms.
Yeah, great point, Jimmy.
And that's what walleyes like the most,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure how much of that we have.
We used to have some.
You know, and I
think
actually,
it's covered in silt.
I'll be able to tell you guys, because
Right.
during my course, if you saw that I did the coarse woody habitat portion of the survey, included in that Colton and I did, was a near-shore substrate inventory. So as we're going around looking for our coarse woody habitat, we're also looking at the bottom and putting a rake down to confirm what we see is actually what is on there. And we differentiate between sand, silt, and rock. And really a lot of the north side, kind of between Shore Place and Cedar Shores, does have a fair amount of rocky, gravelly substrate. So I'll be able to give you guys more information on that data next, hopefully by January. Any other questions before I move on? Okay. I did begin, so as y'all know, we bought both of the properties, super happy about that. Big thanks to Jimmy. He did a lot of that legwork, couldn't have gotten it done without you. So we officially own the 11 and 18 acres. We're gonna begin brainstorming an idea for a community fundraiser to help us pay for some of this land. Because I know a lot of the community is supportive that we purchase these really two crucial pieces of property by the inlet stream. So if we could get some donations to help cover those costs and bring our loan payment down, then that feels like a good idea. So maybe like a fundraiser by the district, but also maybe get Pizza Ranch included again. You know, we used to do those Pizza Ranch fundraisers, and although they were $300 to $500, that's not nothing. So we're beginning to brainstorm some of those ideas. If anybody has any fundraising ideas or has done a successful fundraiser in the past, I'm open to your thoughts.
Yeah.
So.
And getting the word out just for donations, you know, anybody want to help donate to the new property, I think that's a real good thing we can start looking at.
Yeah.
So do you ever put that information, like requesting donations in the newsletter? I can't remember. I do read it every month.
We
It's
have
really-
not so far, because there hasn't been a good project that we wanted to ask the community for donations for, but that's a great point. I will put it in the ripples this year, and also what's not in my lake manager's report, just because there's so much stuff I do that I can't shove everything in here. Jimmy and I did set up a meeting with one of the Cambridge newspaper journalists to discuss our inlet stream restoration project as well as acquiring the land. So I think that might be a good first step, and then the next step, we'll put it in the ripples too. Yeah,
We're
great
gonna-
idea.
I'm
Thanks,
gue-
Laura.
Yeah, I'm guessing there'll be a pretty big article by myself about the new property.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll certainly mention it there, and we can follow up with some kind of a fundraiser, you know.
Something that might be, you know, not now until probably spring or something, would be to have some kind of a tour type thing, either by canoe or whatever along the shore, or something where you can talk about what the benefits are in there and what that purpose is, and get people more interested too, because they might not really have a sense of what that contribution is,
Yeah.
but where you can get, when you get somebody out there visually and they get a chance to see turtles, you know, or whatever,
right.
it gives you more of a, you know.
When you see it and you walk down there and you see how silted it is compared to what it was, you're shocked.
Well, if they don't have a sense of what it used to be
Right.
either.
Right.
But I mean, that gives you an opportunity to kind of put eyes on, this is why this is important, and be able to, at the same time, say, well, this is an area we hope to do this, you know, we want to plant this kind of thing in here, you know, and really show what you're trying to do, because otherwise it just kind of, oh, yeah, they're going to own this land, what does that mean? Does it mean I have access or not? You know, this instead shows you what the purpose of owning it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're open to all these ideas. You know, it's just so new yet that we haven't really had time, you know, with your grant writing and everything else, had time to really dig into it too much, but
Well,
yeah.
and coming into winter, it's a little bit harder also to talk about it, because
Right.
people aren't going to be out there when it's 2 degrees.
Right.
In the summer too, you'll have a lot more people. The seasonal folks will be back.
Yeah, because
Sure.
then you get the summer folks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. So I did send Clay Frazier the good news that we accepted the 5-year burn contract, so that's great. I did ask for a couple of revisions that we talked about, like if the budget isn't approved in 2026, we obviously aren't going to do it, you know, so things like that. He's going to send it back to me, and it'll be signed and good to go. We have had volunteers all month this month, thanks to Georgia and Pam Dollard. They've been rock stars collecting seeds and working on buckthorn and cleaning out bird boxes, so.
You want to do some buckthorn at my place?
So we really appreciate their help all the time. Every Wednesday is typically when we do it. If you guys are ever interested, we start around 9. Currently, we're suspending that because there's been a foot of snow in the preserve and you can't collect seeds when they're wet. So I will reach out to folks again once that volunteer starts. We also post it on our website. So if you're subscribed to our news and notices, every time I put a new blurb out there, it'll pop up for you. The weed harvesting is officially over. Yay. Everything was winterized just fine. The boat looks great. Thanks to Tom Hensel, he took it into storage for us, so everything's good to go there. Big thanks to our harvesters. They did a lot
Yeah,
of great work
absolutely.
this season. One mention about the preserve at Oakland, I did stop getting their updates, and so I let Laura know. Didion generally was sending us weekly updates about what was going on at the site, and I hadn't received one since late September, so
I
Laura
haven't
reached out
received
to him
any.
or is going to reach out to him
Right.
and ask about, could you start sending us those again? We think that it's warranted. So thanks for Laura for helping with that and keeping me up to date. She's always popping in my office and making sure that I know what's going on over there, so that's really helpful. And there's my running list of priorities, in case anybody doesn't know what I'm doing, which you all do. Any questions?
Did I notice that there's already a house going up?
There is?
There is.
Yes.
There is one house that has been constructed.
Yeah.
And I think 2 other lots have been purchased. 3 lots total, is that right?
I
Or is
am
it
really
2?
surprised how slow that's going, considering there's a crunch. Are
Yeah.
his prices high or something?
Not people building right now.
Yes.
There's not a lot of people building right now. There's just not.
It's just, but everything that was talked about, for example, yesterday, all the towns are talking about, oh, we need housing, we need housing, we need housing. And, Laura mentioned too, we had a legislative breakfast yesterday. She mentioned that, oh, we've got this property coming in over here. But I keep seeing signs that nobody's interested in them, so all I can wonder is whether they're priced
Well,
out of most people's.
We need affordable housing, right?
Yeah.
The
What's
lots are-
affordable to people? That's
Yeah.
the question, right?
The
Who can
lots are
spend
higher.
$800,000,
Yeah,
you
the
know?
lots are higher.
The lots are higher, and some of the feedback has been that, that for the price, I guess, but they want larger lots. Right now, there are a quarter acre
Oh.
lots. So that's why I say when they're coming back with phase 2, slightly different than initially proposed, is to have some larger lots, and they will be going into phase 1 that the road's already constructed. They're not changing any of the roads, but just the individual lots. So they will remove a few lots to increase the sizes of those. So that was how they are just addressing that concern that potential buyers have. I don't know any more than that as far as the housing market and so forth. But
Yeah.
I believe 2 have sold, and then there were 2 or 3 others in the works, lots. And then they could build whatever size house they want on them as well. Like they're not, the developer isn't developing the houses. They can hire
Their own.
own contractors.
And so then, that one of the things we talked a lot about what the impact is going to be on like County A / 12 interchange or 18 interchange. But the other thing is that's that many more households that are going to want to use the lake. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to new business. Let's get right into the Santec bid, Phase 2 discussion and possible action. Leanna, why don't you walk us through what you have here, what's changed, and we'll see if we can answer any questions that John had or what we have here. So.
You bet. So you will see that there are 7 different tasks associated with this next phase. Water quality monitoring data. We added a couple new water quality monitoring sites last year to try to give us some more information about those specific hotspots along the inlet stream. So Stantec is going to be reviewing that data and seeing if they can pinpoint any more hotspots or where specifically it's becoming elevated. We are going to start doing best management practice location screening, meaning which ties into landowner engagement. What I discovered was we can't start designing a conceptual design of a large $100,000 project on somebody's property who we don't have permission to do that with. So why should we spend money to develop this incredible best management practice if that landowner will say, no thanks, try again. So what we need to start doing, and why Jimmy and I have started having these landowner meetings, is to really pull these guys in, see if they're interested. If they are, great. Here are the list of 10 best management practices that could potentially be installed on your property. What would you like, and are there things that is an absolute no? So that's where we need to start, by gaining these landowners' support and confirming that they would be open to installing a best management practice on their property. If not, the only land we have to work with is our preserve. And right now, our preserve is doing a really great job at what it's supposed to be doing. The wetlands are in pretty decent shape, although when this is all said and done, absolutely restoring wetlands is always in the back of our mind and always is part of our grants and part of our preserve management plans. So please don't think that we're just going to not think about how our preserve looks and how the wetland looks. It's just budgetary constraints and the biggest bang for our buck throughout this process with Stantec. And you are welcome to come to my office at any time, and we can dive deeper into this if what we're going to talk about doesn't answer some of your more direct questions. So that's the best management practice, location screening, and that landowner engagement. Then they'll move on to conceptual design. So once we start getting these landowner agreements, which 2 have already been pretty supportive, I know another 3 that are going to be pretty supportive. I have 2 more landowner meetings set up, or in the works of being set up. And I'm starting with the folks that I know will likely be supportive of installing some of these best management practices. And it's good to have continuity of this project throughout these landowners so everybody know what's going on. If one neighbor talks to the other and they say, we know nothing about this project, that could cause some strife, I think. So that's why we need to start focusing a little more on getting these landowners engaged and supportive. The conceptual design, as you see here, they will start. So what our plan is for next year, 2 best management practices, 1 installed on the preserve property and 1 installed on a supportive landowner's property. Hopefully upstream of Preserve Central, as that's where we know a lot of the nutrients and sediments are coming from. So that 30% conceptual design, that just means, you know, when you hit a 60% conceptual design, then they're talking about metrics of soil removed, erosion control practices, what permitting looks like. What we need now is just what's the basic. What are we going to potentially be installing on somebody's land? Let's design that, run it through the PLET model, see how that would affect any water quality moving through there, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Okay.
Preliminary stuff.
Absolutely, preliminary stuff. Then we will have project management and grant funding assistance, which is pretty self-explanatory. There will be a public input meeting, similar to last time, where the public can come give input. There will be, you know, it'll be advertised in the ripples. We can talk about it all the time in every meeting. And I'll move on to the budget, I suppose. So for this phase 2, it's going to cost $37,980. The district has budgeted $10,000 of our own monies to cover some of these costs. I've applied for a DNR surface water planning grant for $10,000 that would cover these costs. I intend on applying for a Cambridge Community Foundation grant for $10,000. So there's $30,000 of our $37,980. So roughly, I need to find $8,000 more. I do have some foundations and grants in mind that I think could cover those costs. So what I suggest we do today, and completely up to you guys, but if you are okay with approving our next phase, perhaps put a contingency on it that if we get our absolutely. And I did chat with our project manager, Sarah, about the budget and our constraints and what we can do, and she said that's totally fine. We work with government agencies and nonprofits all the time, and we understand how that works. So Stantec is aware of our budget constraints. Any questions about this bid?
So just to help explain, the phase 2 work will not be digging, construction, moving of dirt.
Correct.
Explain in your terms what you expect that to be, the actual phase 2 work, the $37,000.
I expect it to have a lot of landowner engagement, field surveys on those landowners' properties to see what kind of best management practices can be installed. I expect a variety of best management practices to be delivered to likely me, which then I'll scale down and give to you guys, which were the best ones that I thought. 1 being installed on the preserve property, so that one we can get started with sooner. 1 being installed on a landowner's property, so we'll have that supportive landowner, the best management practice for that land, and then the beginnings of a conceptual design created for that. So by phase 3, we could potentially be a shovel-ready project.
So I guess to address some of what Johnny's talking about here, the shore restoration, the shore bank restoration. It's not the stream bank
Restoration Project?
It's not just that specific spot. It's broader, right?
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
much broader. This money is being spent on a bigger, much broader snapshot of what it could look like in the future, right?
That is
Because I know
correct.
we've been talking a lot about this bank restoration, and here's some money that's going right to that. But on a broader scale, we're looking at what can be done, right?
That is correct. The stream bank restoration project was a project that a funder asked if there was anything that we could do to help install best management practices quicker. And I said, well, we own 207 acres of property, so let me quickly brainstorm. So, and there's a lot of areas in our woods. If y'all remember, a couple years ago, I brought you 4 bids to clear up those woods for $80,000. It was what it would have cost us. There is a ton of box elder and buckthorn, and it may not seem like a big deal, but there's no herbaceous understory. When it rains, that soil cannot be held because there's no herbaceous, there's no vegetation, there's no grasses growing there, and the water will, first of all, run off through that soil into our stream, but also when it rains, sometimes it floods, and the water will come off, pardon me, the water will rise enough to reach the floodplain, and soil erosion then happens there as well. So being able to reestablish some of these vegetated buffers, so to speak, along our inlet stream will significantly help. However, that is so small scale. That's a 4-acre thing that we could just get done this, in the next year. So yes, what we're looking at, the bigger best management practices are going to be larger in scale than what we are doing on our property currently. We also wanted to look at putting one on our property to show, like the one that we're going to be doing this winter will be a great example for others along the inlet stream of what it could look like. This is what we could help you do. Look at the difference before and after. And a lot of the folks along the inlet stream, from what I'm learning, love to hunt, love to recreate their land, and do want it to look more native. So it'll be a good example to show folks one of the few things that we're capable of doing. But the ultimate goal for this is not habitat improvement. That's a part of this project, but
As a result almost, right?
yeah, it's absolutely a collateral result of this, but our overall goal is to reduce nutrients and sediments from reaching Lake Ripley. And it goes back to you saying, look at the inlet stream. You've lived here long enough to see how that has silted in. If we don't stop our upstream problem, it will continue to silt in. Our wetland scrape will be full of silt if we don't stop the issues going on upstream, right? It impacts everything. So fixing anything downstream of Preserve Central would be a Band-Aid at this moment. What we need to focus on is the upstream issues, and that's what we're doing currently for this phase. Not just this phase, for the project. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's not just this best management practice would be great here, let's install it. You have to work with drainage districts. You have to work with the NRCS and the USDA because some of these people's properties are enrolled in wetland preserve programs that are federally protected. There's a lot of steps, and it's not just as easy as, in my brain I think I have the solution, but it's not just that easy. You need a lot more collaboration than knock on somebody's door, hey, your land is causing an issue, let's install this here. It doesn't work like
With
that.
some of those plans, you actually have to formally request a revision to the plan in order just to change the composition of the undergrowth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meeting I had yesterday, the landowners were in the Wetland Reserve Program with the USDA, and they have to get permits to have a food plot, to install their trails, to do anything, even if they wanted to burn the reed canary grass. They're having to, obviously, you need a permit for specific things, but little things like that that you wouldn't think they would need to get permission for, they have to because these lands are so protected.
Yeah, and some of them, you can get those as, if you've written it, if their plan has been written broadly enough, they can say these are allowed practices. But if that hasn't been written that way because the people, when they initially signed it, didn't think that they were going to need those functions, then they have to go through a whole revision process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the hard part for us is to educate, right? So we have to continue to educate people what we're working on, what we're doing. It's in Leanna's brain, but that doesn't mean it's in everybody else's brain, right? So that's why we have to continue to educate myself, other people who are asking these questions, because it's hard to understand.
Yeah.
And, me and you have had that conversation many times. It's like, well, why are we just doing that? Why aren't we looking, But it is on such a broad scope, and you're so limited on how much you can do by your funding
Right.
that you just have to take little baby steps, right?
And we have to look at the watershed scale. We can't be, so specific. Yeah, it's a watershed project.
Yep.
I have a question then, because Meg brings up a very good point that, probably none of us had really thought about as far as their permits and what they can and cannot do. When you engage the homeowners, are you asking for that plan that they have so Stantec can review it and see what some of these next steps
Yeah,
would need
great
to
question.
include?
Yeah, I invited Gretchen, who was their project manager for the USDA. So she was able to tell us all about the wetland reserve program, what their stipulations look like, what they can and can't do. Yes, I am making sure that the proper governmental agencies are included in these meetings. So Gretchen from USDA was there, and as well as Joe Strupp from Land and Water Conservation
For
Department.
people who have farmland preservation.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
And we're working with our legal counsel to have a document, so each landowner that signs on with us will have a signed document, so we all understand what we're doing, so everything's good there, and that'll be coming soon. So yeah, it's been a very busy process.
Definitely.
Leanna's been working.
And one grant I
lot.
did forget to mention was the TRIM grant, TRM, Targeted Runoff Management. That's a $100,000 grant that we plan on applying for in April of this year from the DNR. And that will help give monies to the planning and design portion of our project, which will be huge.
So if we do approval on this, what we would want to do is have the motion include a stipulation that it's pending funding?
Yeah.
Is that what
think
we're
so.
looking at?
Yeah, because it would be hard to approve a contract
Right.
because some of the funding is still being applied for through grant funding.
Yeah, if
So-
you've got a $37,000 contract that you have to meet, and
Right.
we only have 10,000 set aside.
Correct. So we want to get the funding first, but we want to approve the contract. So yes, the motion would include pending funding.
All right.
And I should also mention that I won't know whether or not we have the funding from DNR and the Cambridge Community Foundation until late February, early March. Middle of February for DNR, later February for
And
Cambridge
they're
Community.
okay with that?
Stantec? They are, yes.
Okay.
We had a long discussion after our meeting yesterday, Sarah and I did, about the budget.
Okay.
And she understands our restrictions, We're a government
Right.
agency that only has a
So much
limited amount
budgeted,
of budget.
right?
Yeah,
But you've been working very, very hard to get grants, and you've done it.
Yeah.
You've gotten many already, so we're close.
yeah.
So, would you like to make a motion?
So I was going to say, I'd make a motion for us to accept the Phase 2 bid pending funding to approve the contract. Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
George is seconded. Okay, so is there any other discussion on the motion to approve the Stantec Phase 2 pending funding? Seeing none? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any
And-
nays? All right, thank you, everyone.
And one other thing I did want to mention, there was a second document that came with the proposal. What that is a master services agreement. So I want to include this, and the reason why is when we wanted to do our stream bank restoration project, the one we just accepted from Stantec, it is a part of this overall project, but I had to go out and get 3 different bids for it. So if there are projects related to the overall inlet stream restoration project that could get done that aren't a part of our contracted monies or tasks, I would like to just be able to approve Stantec doing them. And I think we could address this next month if everybody needs a little more time to look at it, but it was just something that would make it easier for me to get the work done quicker. I had to spend a month and a half to get the Stantec, to get all 3 bids, because that's just the way contractors work. So it would be easier if I had funding available and there was a project that I wanted to do and I could just ask Stantec to do it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah,
did that
so-
at the town with the town engineer.
A
Engineer.
lot of people do
Yep.
it, yeah.
It does save a lot of time, and you've already vetted them and
Exactly.
and
Right.
all of that, so I feel comfortable doing that.
Awesome.
So let's put, it's not on the agenda
Yeah, I
today,
was gonna
so
say, you'd
we're going to
have
have
to
to
put
put it
that
on the agenda for next month.
Yep,
Okay.
And let's do that, and we'll
Okay.
get that approved, and then you can move
Great.
forward. Okay.
thanks.
All right, so there's that. What else do we have here? Okay, we did the budget discussion and possible action. I mean, we covered most of the budget stuff in the treasurer's report. The only thing I just wanted to mention in addition, and I just wanted to make the board aware of this, is that we've been working very hard to try to find out what monies are where and how we get the budget to where we need to, and then how much is in the actual savings account or money that's not encumbered or extra money, I guess, we have left over from other budget years. And it looks like, we had a number of 119 at one point, this is 123, but where it says general funds available, we're trying to understand what that was. And why this came up was because we knew we had all these additional lawyer fees that were coming when we purchased this property. We were well over our budget for lawyer fees of $3,000. We wanted to know how much was in that general fund that was usable. And I just want to let the board know that that fund is there. It's very healthy. It's over $120,000. And that money can be used for these types of things that aren't accounted for. And I just want to let the board know that we can and will make that decision to do that when needed. It's a savings account is what it is. We've used it, some of it to purchase the property, and most of it was done through the loan, but that's what that money's there for. So it's really all I wanted to bring up. We're going to have a separate line item for that so everybody can see that every month. It's kind of like a reserve. I'm not really sure officially what we're going to call it, but we're not just going to spend it away. It's going to be there for emergencies. We're going to monitor it, and we're going to be responsible for it, but it's there.
Is that someplace that then when you have like a breakdown on a truck or a machinery or
Sure.
something like that, that you're going to be able to draw from? Okay.
Let's just say a worst-case scenario, the white truck blows up when you're going down the road.
Hopefully
And we
not
need a
with
new
anybody in it.
And we need a new engine, right? I mean, blows up meaning the motor, right, blows up. And we need a new engine, it's gonna cost $7,000 or $8,000. Well,
Right.
we don't have a budget in the repair for that. So either we would go over budget in that line item, or we would say, let's go to the reserve budget or the general budget funds and take that money from there. So
Okay,
unexpected expenses is what that would be for.
Right.
And over the years of us being so conservative and so well-managed, that fund has grown.
Yeah.
Because that's money that was
is
saved
that in
over
a
time.
high yield account at least?
Hmm?
Is that in a high yield account, like a money market
It's
account?
just in our checking
No,
account
it's a
now.
checking account.
Right.
Okay.
We've had in the past, as you know, Debbie has put money into CDs and things like that. We did not do any of that with that money. We certainly could look at that, and I
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up.
Yeah.
Because I was going to
We'll chat
suggest
to Steve
that
about that.
if you have that in, you can, there's a lot of money market accounts that they have that break point of like 100,000 and suddenly you find yourself earning 2.5%
Right.
instead of, the 0.05 that you get out of a checking account.
Yep.
And at least make the money work for you.
And that's a
Yeah.
good point. So when I talked to our lawyer, Chris, about this, he asked us, well, do you have any bylaws that say that you should have a minimum of that money around? I said, no, not that I know of. There's no bylaws that say that. And he says it's pretty common to have a $50,000, either you have a bylaw or you just say that we want to have at least $50,000 at all times available for us.
Or
You know,
like
do
they'll
we-
do like X number of months of
Right.
operating
Or,
costs.
and to your point then, if we say that, and if this board wants to do that, do we take the rest of that money and get it into a 6-month CD or 8-month CD? And I think we're fine with that if that's what you guys want to do. I don't have any problems with it, but
I think it's a good idea to do that. I'm part of another organization, and it's not nearly that amount of money, but we do that, and then I just put on my calendar when it comes due, and, you have to, whatever the term is, you'll have to just make sure that you follow up with it
Sure.
and reinvest it after that time period so you get the best interest
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
So-
we'll chat with Steve about
yeah,
it.
let's do this. Let's think about it, because I wanted to get it out to everybody. If we think about if 50,000 is maybe that number, and then next month we can discuss it and decide if we want to put some money into a CD.
I would recommend if you can, either the treasurer or Leanna come back and be able to identify what like a 6-month operating cost is, including summer months, so that we're getting our peak month of cost. So that includes your loan payments, but also the salaries and all that other kind of stuff, what we normally would pay. And that is a wise number for most governments. I mean, even the county is supposed to do 2 months. You know, I think 2 months is ridiculously slow. You don't know what could potentially happen. So having a certain dollar amount that you've established that we might want to talk about,
Yeah.
either a bylaw or something like that, but also just being able to set it up in a budget to be sure that in the event something bad happens in the world, we have 6 months of operating costs set aside.
Right. And we can make that number whatever we want. And we can certainly play with it, too. It's not something that has to be in stone. We can say, hey, look good this year, maybe next year we change it a little bit. Maybe it's not a bylaw, so we can adjust as we go. Maybe it's part of the budget discussions.
Yeah.
You know, every year, like, here it is, maybe we want to put a little bit more in there. Georgia?
On some of the savings accounts might work too, because you can take quite a few, you can take money out like 6 times a quarter or something, but you're making really good
Some interest.
interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look into
Yeah,
money
well,
markets.
We'll look
and
into it,
CDs.
and let's bring it back next month.
Yeah.
See what we find. And if we can put some money in some kind of a yielding account, that'd be good. But yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up to the board, so.
Because
All
that
right.
could be, that's like when we're talking about doing fundraising and you're saying, oh, if we get $3,500 from Pizza Ranch, if you've got $100,000 in a higher yield account, you can be making $1,200, $1,500 a year on
Yeah.
it. And right there, that's
Right.
somebody's donation.
Right?
Right.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. We'll put that on the agenda for next month. Board meeting dates. Okay, I want to have a little discussion about board meeting dates for next year. So currently, we have our schedule. It's listed here, the same as we have done in the past. I just want to float this to the board just to think about. You guys think about some ideas here. But is there any opportunity throughout the year that we would maybe possibly consider having some meetings during the week? There's some monthly meetings, maybe on a weekday instead of a Saturday. And the
Are
only
you
reason
looking
I'm-
at football games?
No, I'm not thinking of anything in particular other than, again, like today, but people plan things typically on weekends. And we've had several board meetings that we've been lack board members, and not just board members, people of the public also. It's just Saturdays are sometimes hard. Now, I'm not going to suggest that we change every meeting and we change any of that. I'm just saying, is there an opportunity that we could look at, possibly we could maybe alternate some meetings? Is that a possibility? I don't need an answer today. I want to have everybody's input, including Steve, because he's our treasurer, and I want him to be here, and Doug and so forth. But think about that. Is there an opportunity? I don't want to change the annual meeting. That has to stay where it's at. And I think we're in a good spot with this December meeting. It's too hard to have another meeting in November during the holidays and all that stuff. So let's try to think about keeping those where they're at, maybe.
Yeah.
But is there an opportunity, some of the summer months, maybe some of the winter months, where we could have a meeting on a Thursday afternoon or something?
Well, during the day, you're going to be a little harder if you have people who have working.
Yeah, I don't know if it would necessarily be during the day. Maybe it would be more of a
I would say
5 o'clock maybe thing, 5:30 maybe, I don't know. If it's in the winter, maybe try not to make it too late because it's dark, but think about it. Let me know if you guys are okay with maybe looking at a few meetings that we change. We don't necessarily have to schedule every meeting now. I mean, we can do it monthly like if we want. I don't know. There's opportunity to look at it, so.
And we were thinking that we'll put it on next month's agenda too.
Yeah, I think we just wait for everybody to be here and let's talk about it again next month.
But Jimmy and I did think that it'd be appropriate to set at least the first 2 or 3
Sure.
for the new year, because January is coming up soon, and if we don't approve it, then it won't
Yeah.
happen.
Let's approve the January meeting and let's approve the annual meeting tonight, because we know those are 2 meetings that we're going to have.
And the annual meeting would be Saturday, August 15th.
I was going to say, it's not
Yep.
listed here.
It is
Yep.
not, just because these are regular board meetings, and I don't want
Gotcha.
people to get confused with the electors meeting and regular board meetings.
It's the 15th, you said? That's the
August 15th,
third Saturday?
2026, that is correct.
We would need to notify, if there's a change to any kind of regular scheduling, the county needs to know because they have
Absolutely.
their noticing
Mhm.
requirements as well.
Yep.
Yep. So I guess that all being said, is there any questions? Is there any thoughts right offhand? Does anybody have any ideas?
I
My
think
only
for-
thought is that if it's an evening meeting,
You said
you
okay.
might have to bring me here,
Okay.
Jimmy, because I'm not going to drive at night.
Okay.
Right.
I'll come pick you up, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we could arrange things like that. I mean, if there's a barrier, certainly we can look at that. You're close.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, there's, at least for, and I'm not the consideration on how this is, because, I mean, I might not get elected in April, but the, consideration for me is just conflicts with other committee meetings and things like that.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
um,
And no matter when we do it and what day and what time, there's going to be conflicts. I understand that.
and
Um,
it's, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where people know in advance, like I schedule, when people are saying, hey, you want to get together and do something, it's like, no, that's my Lake Ripley meeting date, so I know that far enough advance that I make those schedules. Now, the going up to Minneapolis in October, I mean, it was a combination of my birthday and my son needed his car
Right.
to be delivered to him,
Right.
and he's only available on the weekends, and it was one time during the year,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, just think about it. Like
Yeah.
I said,
I think for January, at least, we need to have it on the Saturday. I think people need time
Agreed.
to
Yeah, we
get
agreed
used
to
to it,
that.
not just the board members, but the public.
Yeah.
yep.
And, I mean, I think in the winter months, it's going to be harder because of the dark and the snow, that people are going to want daytime, just a thought to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in the summer months are more busy for people, so they like to plan their weekends. And maybe we could do one during the week, during the summer, where
Yeah.
maybe we'll get more people. I don't know. It might be something to think about. Let's continue to talk about it, and we'll see.
Okay.
See
I'll
if we
put
can
it
come
on
up
the
with
agenda
something.
for next month.
Yeah,
But
let's
we
do that.
should
So
do the,
I am willing to make a motion to approve the January 17th regular board meeting and the August 15th annual meeting for 2026.
Okay. Is there a second?
I can second.
Georgia? Okay, Georgia second. Any other discussion on the meetings? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, good discussion, thank you. Okay, now we're on to approving the Wisconsin Lakes Association, Rock River Coalition, North American Lake Management Society, Wisconsin Wetland Association, and renewals. So these are memberships that we renew every year. There's nothing new in those, right? Those are all current ones.
that is correct.
They're all our current ones. There's no additional costs. If there are, they're listed here.
They are listed here.
Okay,
The
so-
Wisconsin Wetlands Association went up $15.
Okay.
$15? Yeah.
Okay. So we have 100, 50, 165, and 100. Those are the four, right?
Yep, that is correct.
And we currently have them now. They're all useful. You're happy with our memberships?
That is correct.
So there's no issue evidently with these.
Nope, I go to conferences, they host a lot of webinars. Each of these, Rock River Coalition and I chat once a month, and we do the Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol Project together. The Wisconsin Lakes Association is really helpful. When we got our new treasurer, they were able to send me a lot of information that was useful to Steve. The Wisconsin Wetlands Association is the folks that put on the webinar conference that I go to in February, and they have good resources. And the North American Lakes Management Society, I just call it NALMS, they have a lot of good resources for me too. So these are the four that I feel like are beneficial for me throughout the year.
Okay.
I think it's money well spent. It really provides a lot of information for you.
Yeah.
And it benefits us.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I would,
I don't know if I need to, how I deal with the fact that since I'm on the Rock River Coalition board, is that considered like a conflict
No,
of?
It's
Okay.
not. It's a
All right.
membership for their society. You can advocate for them, obviously.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't mean it as being an advocate, but whether or not it was appropriate for me to say, oh, yeah, give money to Rock River Coalition.
Are you on the board?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know if that's,
I mean, we've used them for how many years?
Yeah,
I don't know how
as long
it's-
as I've been here.
I mean, I don't know how it's a conflict, but if you wish to recuse yourself,
I can't
that's fine.
recuse myself because we only have a quorum.
Well,
Good
that's
point.
true.
Yeah. I don't think so, because you're not monetarily
I don't
benefiting for
monetarily
this.
benefit from
No.
it, no.
So I don't think that
Then
it
I-
would
Yeah,
be
good point.
considered
Yeah, good
a
point.
And you're here
conflict.
to advocate on their behalf. We've had people come and advocate on behalf of things. I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, I just wanted to make
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you for that, because we
Yeah.
want to always do things the best we can.
Right.
All right, Laura, did you make a motion to
Yeah, I'll
move?
make a motion to approve these renewals.
Okay, as stated here.
And I'll second.
Okay, and George a second. Okay, any other question on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Any old business today? Okay, seeing none, any announcements? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Laura second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Enjoy your weekend, everybody.